Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Luciano, and today I want to talk with you about a topic on how martial arts are taught for people around the world in the history. Okay, this video may be very long, so make yourself comfortable and take your time. Okay, the question is. Many classical martial arts uses a series of prearranged movements to teach you how to defend yourself and how to apply your techniques. And sometimes people criticize this form of teaching the martial arts, and they say that it would be better if you learned the martial art by the practice of sparring or handori from judo, for example, or shiai komite from karate, for example. And they say that the prearranged forms don't work as a tool to teach the martial arts. Well, and so let's talk about the importance of the prearranged forms or the katas from the classical martial arts as a tool to teach you how to fight. First, every martial art uses a prearranged movement to teach you how to strike, how to defend, and all the strategies of the martial art. Doesn't matter what style you are studying. For example, if you train boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, or any other modern combat sport, probably you know what this is. Well, I don't know how it's called outside Brazil. Here we call it a focus glove. Your instructor will hold this glove in your front, so you will punch this glove using a series of attacks. So, example, your instructor may ask you to make a jab and a cross punch and any other kind of hand strike from that style. And this is a prearranged form. It doesn't get the name of a kata like a classical martial art, but you are repeating a prearranged form of striking the glove. Okay, and this is very important because it gives your instructor the opportunity to correct your technique. So if you are doing the movement with a flaw in your base, in how you are punching the glove or the posture of your body, then this is the opportunity to the instructor to correct your technique to make you a better fighter. If you never trained a martial art in your whole life and you start to train and you want to fight everyone in the dojo, for example, or in the gymnasium, because you believe that you will only learn how to fight doing sparring and fighting your opponents. And what is going to happen is that everyone will defeat you very easily because they are more stronger, they have more skill than you, and a lot more of experience in the martial art. And even when you're learning and getting better on your practice and mastering some techniques on how to punch and how to attack and how to defend from your opponent, if you're a person that is more graduated than you and have more experience than you in the martial art is receiving your strikes, probably he is letting you strike, and he is making the way more easy for you. Because if he doesn't want to receive your technique, it would be very hard and almost impossible for you to defeat this guy. Well, now going to the classical prearranged forms on the Japanese martial arts, for example. These prearranged forms are very important because they create a controlled environment where you can train repeatedly your technique during the class. You can train that technique much more often, and instead of doing that technique twice or 3 times, you may repeat it 100 times, for example, and get much more experience in that technique. And not only that, if you think about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a martial art that uses formal sparring, hardly you will see a kind of training that allow you to do a technique like this one, where my opponent is grabbing my wrist and punching my face. Or maybe that other one where my opponent is grabbing the lapel of my dogi and punching my face. And also this other technique where I am reacting to a grab to the back of my neck, and I am applying a torsion to the arm of my opponent, and my opponent is reacting with a kick against my chest. So here we can see that first, my opponent is not a passive opponent. He is reacting to my technique, punching me on the face or kicking me on the chest. So if you don't block this punch or this kick, you will get punched on the face or kicked on your chest in those techniques. So it's not that easy like people criticize when they see prearranged form being trained. If you don't apply your technique on the correct way, your opponent, your uke, should not fall on your technique. And when you see, for example, a training of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu which uses kind of sparring, you don't see people training this kind of technique where your enemy is grabbing you by your arm or your lapel and punching you or kicking you. And also when you look at the styles that uses punches and kicks, normally they don't allow you to use any kind of torsion and arm bars or throws against your opponent. Probably those styles will allow you only to strike or only to grab. And another very important point is that when you train on a prearranged form or a kata, it allows you to use some techniques that are very dangerous to be used on a sparring or in a handori. So, for example, there are some techniques where you will strike your opponent with some hand strikes that may hit the eyes of your opponent with your fingertips, like this one where I am using Shakoken from Bujinkan. And there are many others examples where you will use this kind of attacks or maybe you will kick the groin of your opponent, or use the palm strikes against the ears, and hardly you will have the possibility to use such techniques safely on sparring or in handori, because the eyes are very fragile, and also a very light slap to your ear may damage the internals of your ear, or maybe if you're receiving a technique or a torsion through your fingers, they may break very easily too. And if you don't agree with me that these techniques are dangerous and can't be used on handori or in sparring, there are some examples in history. So for example, maybe you don't know kanibasami. Kanibasami is a technique from judo. It was allowed technique from judo, and it was suppressed from judo because this technique was very dangerous. And kanibasami was suppressed, it was forbidden from judo, because when people used the kanibasami in the past during the training and also in some competitions, sometimes the kanibasami will enter in a wrong way, and it will damage the knees from the practitioners. And once you injure your knee, maybe your leg will not be the same for the rest of your life, maybe finishing the career of a judo fighter, or maybe a worker that trains judo because it's a hobby for him and he likes to practice martial arts. And every judo practitioner knows that Jigoro Kano trained traditional jiu-jitsu on Japan, and when he created judo, some of the techniques that he learned from those classical schools were suppressed to create a curriculum for judo that could be trained as safer as possible. Now I hope you can see that prearranged technique called Kata on traditional martial arts are a very important tool to teach martial arts, and we should not throw this tool away when it's the safest way that we can train some techniques that are very effective, but at the same time they are very dangerous to be used on a sparring or in a handori, okay? If you're not subscribed for my channel, please subscribe, and any question that you have, you may leave it on the comments below. Please share this video with your friends, okay? Well, I hope you liked this video, and I see you later.